Christian nationalism or Christian patriotism. Is it a good idea? Should we go totally medieval, politically speaking? I think I speak for a lot of Christians who are interested in the well-being of our nation, of our culture, and I think chiefly our children and our grandchildren, when I say that we are moving towards I know I'm going to ruffle some feathers. Hang with me. We're moving towards a post-MAGA political situation in America. I think Europe is also having issues, primarily with immigration and the erosion of European Christian Catholic culture, which arguably has been going on since the 1500s. What I mean is the idea that you just need to vote harder. Just vote. We just need more Republicans, more conservatives. That's the way out. We're realizing that, honestly, being conservative hasn't really conserved anything that's important to Christians and to society and to civilization. Let me give you some examples. Marriage, matrimony. Have the conservatives in Europe, in Canada, in America, even in Latin America, have they sought to preserve the definition of matrimony given by God and articulated by Jesus Christ in the Gospels? The answer is no. It's been a tale of contraception, no-fault divorce, and now creative new definitions of what marriage and matrimony is recognized. When you look at the protection of young people, when you look at the protection of civil order, just war, usury, immigration, both the good and the bad. Conservatives have dropped the ball. And so a lot of people are shifting and they're saying, okay, what is the answer? If giving more money to CPAC isn't the answer, if giving more money to my Republican candidate isn't the answer, if Ted Cruz isn't the answer, maybe even Donald Trump isn't the answer. And again, whether you love Trump or not, in 3 years, it'll be something new. What is the answer? And so what we've seen happen in conservative Christian culture, and by the way, I do believe that the MAGA movement is aware of this, and over the past 5 years, the MAGA movement has more and more incorporated Christian messaging, Catholic messaging, and has also been strategic about who they put on the stage. And I think J.D. Vance, being a Catholic, was definitely part of that strategy. I think Turning Point is definitely part of that strategy. And you saw Charlie Kirk defend and promote Christianity, matrimony, and was definitely moving the conservative right wing, whatever you want to call it, towards a Christ-based message. Now, of course, may he rest in peace, Charlie is not with us. But he was definitely trailblazing. He was definitely talking about things that I think a lot of us are interested in, and that is politics, government, civilization can't be neutral. It can't be gray. It can't be equally black and white on the spectrum of politics and position. That just creates a big vacuum. There must be something Christian. The teaching of Jesus Christ in the parables, his precepts, of course, his example, dying on the cross for our redemption, for propitiation, rising on the third day, ascending, being the King of Kings, being the King of the Jews, being the Lord of Lords, the Son of God. All of that has some total social dimension to our lives. And so maybe we do need to be a little bit more medieval, or I'll even argue medieval and patristic, and we need to infuse Christ and Christianity in the culture. Now, we're going to talk about Christian nationalism today. Here's the show card. I kind of like this card today. We got some crusaders. I'm wearing the Hungarian crown. Put that up there in the corner. We have a lot of Protestants. I think Joel Webbin is definitely one. A lot of books coming out with Protestants promoting what they call Christian nationalism. We need Christian nationalism. And you say, what is Christian nationalism? Christian nationalism is the promotion of Christian politicians in order not just to promote conservative values, but to enshrine Christian values, Christian morality. We need the 10 Commandments at the courthouse. We need prayers in schools. We need the Bible in the curriculum. We need Christian Trinitarian prayers in the name of Jesus at courthouses, the Congress, the Senate, inaugurations. All of it has to take on a Christian manifestation. And when people argue about the separation of church and state, which we talked about 2 podcasts ago, we had the Buddhists come in. Remember that? I had a little confrontation with the Buddhists, the Republican Buddhists that came in. And I told them, I don't want you running for office. I don't want you in the Senate. I don't want you in the Congress. I don't want you running the HOA. All right. And that's kind of where we're going, I think, and particularly if you spend any time in the Christian nationalist circles. And I've been following them. I used to be Protestant. I'm now a Catholic, obviously. And I've been following the Christian nationalist movement with some admiration, with some appreciation. Stephen Wolfe wrote a book on Christian nationalism. And as I listen to them and as I read them, there is a strong Protestant bent. Even more so, there's a strong Reformed Calvinist bent. And there is a nostalgia for the pre-1776 Puritan colonies. That's what they want to go back to. Now, I don't want to go back to that. All right. I want to go back to Habsburg, Spain, Spanish, French, right? The Catholic monarchies, the kings, that social dimension is much more Catholic. It is Catholic, not much more. It is Catholic. Whereas the Puritans having these Congregationalist churches are rather weak. And, by the early 1800s, the Congregationalists are Unitarians. They deny the Trinity. They're Universalists. They deny salvation. Yale, Harvard, which started off as Puritan Congregationalist divinity schools, become completely liberal, not in the 1900s. They become completely liberal in the early 1800s. They abandon Christianity. They abandon the Trinity. And so we need something that's more substantial, more dogmatic. And so as I've analyzed this and looked at the philosophy and the theology, primarily of St. Augustine and Thomas Aquinas, I cooked up Christian Patriot, which we'll talk about a bit today. And I'm going to suggest that according to Thomas Aquinas, under the virtue of justice and under the virtue of piety, we have patriotism, and that is the proper linguistic and conceptual model by which we as Christians, even more so we as Catholics, need to apply in the next 3 decades. Chiefly this decade now. We really need to get on the ball. But over the next 3 decades, it's over. All right, it's all lost. That's our window, in my opinion. Maybe you disagree with me. Before I get started, though, I want to remind everyone the calendars are selling like hotcakes. 1962 traditional Catholic calendar with the pre-55 blended in with notations. It's absolutely beautiful. We got a little sizzle reel here for you. It comes in 2 versions. We've got on top. We've got the seasonal art that goes with the year, and I'm sorry, that's the top one. The bottom one is the seasonal art. The top one is Marian art. You can get both of them at a discount if you go to taylormarshall.com/store. And there's notations along the way. So if you're new to the Catholic liturgical year, there's tons of information. This is a living catechism, and it's a calendar. It's beautiful. As you can see, the art is amazing. The notes, there's tons in the back that'll catechize your family. And if you're going to be serious about being a Catholic, a big part of that is the liturgical cycle. And so in order to be plugged into the liturgical cycle, especially in the traditional Roman Rite, you need help. So this is a guide, 365-day-a-year guide, beautiful art, as you can see. I mean, we Catholics have the best art. So if you'd like to get it, you can go to taylormarshall.com/store, and that's the 2026. They're selling like, or you can go to store.taylormarshall.com/books, or you can click the link below. Thousands of them are sold. We might sell out. So make sure that you get it before we run out. I'll put it on the screen here. Calendars. There you go. Comes in 2 versions. And we are going to be, a lot of people are buying a lot of them to give as gifts because this is a great Christmas gift for Catholics to give to other Catholics. So we're going to put together a bundle for you to save even more money. You can buy 2 at a time and save money. We're going to put together a bundle that's going to come out tomorrow, the next day, where you can buy 4. So you get 2 for yourself, the Marian and the liturgical, and 2 for a friend or for your children or your grandchildren or your friend or your workplace or whatever it is. So taylormarshall.com/store. Also want to remind all of you that Joy and I are leading a pilgrimage with Father Silvera. It's a traditional Latin Mass pilgrimage, absolutely stunning locations. This is a traditional Latin Mass pilgrimage. There's Father Silvera, great traditional priest ordained by Bishop Athanasius Schneider. Amazing accommodations, amazing restaurants, amazing food. But this is there's our hotel in Assisi. This is a traditional Catholic pilgrimage, and we'll be in Rome. We'll be at the major archbasilicas. We're going to go visit St. Valentine on the Feast of Valentine, maybe get a nuptial blessing or renew our vows. And we'll be going to Assisi to kick off Lent. We'll spend Ash Wednesday in Lent. We also have an extension to go to Florence, Venice. We'll go see Padre Pio. We'll go see the cave where St. Michael appeared. We'll go to Lanciano for the Eucharistic miracle. We'll go to Monte Cassino, where St. Benedict had his abbey. It's going to be absolutely beautiful. If you'd like to sign up, you need to go. You need to reserve your spot because it's running out. Slots are filling and it will sell out. You need to go to taylormarshall.com/Rome, ROME. You can also click the link in the show notes here on YouTube and just click on it directly. Reserve your spot. You can just reserve it, okay, before they run out. taylormarshall.com/Rome. What else? One more thing. Today's sponsor, before we get to this, sorry, lots of stuff. I've been behind, and that is Field of Greens. One of the things as part of my health regiment, is Field of Greens. It's from Brickhouse Nutrition. You can use the promo code TM to get 20% off. Look, you need fruits, you need vegetables. You don't want them from a bad source. You don't want them with chemicals on them. You want high quality. And it's hard to do that. It's expensive. An easy way to do that is get Field of Greens. It is basically powdered fruits and vegetables. And it's curated and developed by doctors. Some people use it as a weight loss supplement, and it's designed to help you be leaner, in better shape, get the vitamins, get the minerals in a clean way to get the fruits and the vegetables that you need. So you can get a major discount. I know on the screen it says 20%, but you can actually get 30% right now, 30%. Go to brickhousesale.com, brickhousesale.com, and get 30% off during the Black Friday sale. That's 30% off, brickhousesale.com. Click the link in the show notes. All right, let's talk about patriotism, Christian nationalism. I hope that you're interested in this. I hope that you see that we are at a point right now where just being more conservative ain't it. Just being a little more MAGA over the next 3 years or 10 years is not going to fix the foundation problems that we have in our Western nations, Canada, America, England. I just saw the other day, did y'all see this? In England, I think it's women 15 to 30. I may have that wrong. 48% of pregnancies end in abortion in England. Half. That is a disease. That is a plague. That is a mind virus that we are destroying our own. And so I think this just brings it back. This is not about just being more conservative. This has to do with the total conversion and transformation of the human heart. The total transformation of the human heart to have faith, hope, and charity. Because let me tell you, if you're a young woman in England and 50% of pregnancies are ending in abortion, that means there's no hope. There is no hope. There is no chastity. There is no hope of marriage. This is hedonism. This is degeneracy. This is let me get the pleasure, any pleasure I can get right now, right here, because there is nothing beautiful in the future. Satan has blinded and tricked people. And the only one who can defeat Satan is Jesus Christ. So this recalls us that we need a spiritual solution, not merely a political solution, not even a natural law solution. I did my PhD on Thomas Aquinas on natural law and the beatitude of man. And Thomas Aquinas is very clear. Natural law is great. It's good. It guides us. It clarifies things. But natural law, because of original sin and concupiscence, natural law is not enough. Natural law, reaches a limit. And that's where divine law comes in, the gospel. And we're going to talk about Thomas Aquinas today. Let's talk about our terminology. All right. Christian nationalism, which tends to be more Protestant. I'm suggesting in a Catholic context, we rally around the term Christian patriotism. Okay. Is Christian nationalism the right term? Well, unfortunately, in 2025, if you use the term nationalism, people are going to jump over to that German word. I'm going to probably botch this German, but it's Nationalsozialistische, the Nazi Party, right? The National Socialist Party. People associate nationalism with Nazi, all right? So when you start talking about, and you see this already, when these Protestant Calvinist guys are talking about Christian nationalism, liberals, critics, secularists, they butt in right away, and they're like, oh, so you're literally Hitler. You're Adolf. That's what you are, nationalism. And the term nationalism is in itself, I think, problematic in its popularity going back to the late 1700s, 1800s. A lot of people don't know this. I didn't know this until I was writing the book Christian Patriot. Link in the show notes if you want a copy. That really nationalism in European languages did not become popular until 1789, the French Revolution. It was in the French Revolution that revolutionaries popularized the term nationalism, nationalistic. What was the word before? How did people think before we started using nationalism? Well, first off, as Catholics and as people who appreciate Latin, let's break down the word nationalism. Real quick, if you're enjoying this, like it, share it, subscribe. Nationalism comes from the Latin word natus, having been born. Nativity, right? Natus, you've been born. You were born in a place. You were born in France, so French nationality. But as being born from two French parents make you nationally French. Yes, but there's a lot more to it than just being born. And I don't like the term nationalist because A, it has French Revolution origins. B, people are going to immediately try to group you with Adolf. But C, I don't think being born is really a powerful tag in creating identity and mobility for the good guys. A much better term is patriotism, hence Christian patriot. What is patriotism? I want to talk about that today. I want to look at Thomas Aquinas with you today. Patriotism derives from the Latin word patria, P-A-T-R-I-A, patria. What in Latin does patria mean? Patria is fatherland. It's based on the Latin word pater, which means father. So patria, the best translation in English is fatherland, your father country. Why is that a better term? Instead of Christian nationalism or Christian patriotism, Christian patriotism focuses on fatherland and father. Now, instead of being passively born, natus, nationalistic, I'm born, now we're talking about your relationship to your father, your relationship to your fatherland, and we're going to take a whole theological and analogical dimension that we also have a relationship to our spiritual fathers, the priest, and the highest spiritual father, the Roman pontiff, the Papa, the Holy Father, and we're going to even elevate even more to the Trinitarian relationships with God as Father, Christ as Son, the Holy Spirit proceeding from both the love of the Father and the love of the Son. By incorporating the term patriot and patriotism and patria and pater, we are now actually enveloping everything that is social. The entire religion, the Catholic Church, the civic society, and the Holy Trinity. That's beautiful. That's good. That's much better than just natus, nationalism, natio, which is being born. Do you agree with me or do you disagree with me? If you agree with me, hit 1 in the chat or give it a thumbs up. All right, I want to see those ones. I want to see those thumbs up. And so I'm basically at a canvas right now, and I've got paint out, I've got brushes out, and I'm trying to paint for you a beautiful picture. All right. And in the coming days and weeks, I'm going to be doing a lot more of this because I think you need hope. And I think you need marching orders. And I think you need to know a way to preserve yourself and to be saved and to go to heaven, but also to transform what's around you to be an echo of the heavenly kingdom. And you need that for your kids, your spouse, your grandkids, your uncles, your aunts, your town, your city, your state, your nation, the world, your parish, your diocese, the church, the Holy See. Let me see. Yeah, cool. Ones are coming in. You agree. Also, like the show too. How many likes we got? We got 138 likes for the show, and there's over 1,300 of you watching on X, Facebook. So you guys got to pump those numbers. Like the show. Come on, it's free. So I'm here. I've got the canvas. Basically, I'm pulling out the brushes. I'm showing you the paint, and I'm starting to do some sketches here on the canvas. I want to paint this picture for you. All right. And so far what I'm saying is a lot of people are using these kind of brushes and these kind of paints, Christian nationalism. It works. It could be good. We could jive with that. There could be some synergy there. But all I'm saying is maybe these paint brushes and these paints over here are going to ultimately help us to paint that beautiful painting, that beautiful picture of a Christian society that's integrated at all levels with the love of Jesus Christ. I don't want to live in a generic, moderately conservative society. I want to live in a society that is fueled and powered by the 10 Commandments and the beautiful parables and the Beatitudes that Jesus teaches on the Sermon on the Mount and the sacrificial life of Jesus Christ, the Blessed Mother, the saints, and the martyrs. That's kind of that's the household that I want to develop with my wife and our kids. and one day our grandkids. And then I would just like to, if it's possible, extend that more and more to the community and to the world so that everybody's thriving and grace is flowing. All right. Nothing down here is going to be perfect. There's going to be sin. There's going to be concupiscence. I understand that. But we can work to make it better. And I think Christians were actually doing that in the 300s, 500s, 600s, 700s, 800s, 900s, 1300s, and so forth. It was only until recently that we sort of shrugged and gave up. And we said, well, let's let the Muslims run things, and the Jews and the atheists and the Hindus and the Buddhists, and we'll just kind of go to church on Sunday and it'll all sort of be good and work out. And in 2025, it's like, no. In North Texas, they're building neighborhoods with giant monkey god idols, and they are trying to set up Sharia law in Irving, Texas, and they're creating whole neighborhoods that are Muslim only, off the books. How does that work? Well, if you're not a Muslim, the real estate agents won't sell you the house. So they're working up all this. You've heard about Dearborn, Michigan. Maybe Christians should come together with a Christian worldview under the banner of Jesus Christ, and maybe we should set up values, a culture, civilization that reflects the beautiful, loving teachings of Jesus Christ. I'm not talking about coercing people, like you must be baptized or you're going to prison. None of that. That's not our Christian faith. But we can say, if you are a Hindu and you want to run for office, you can't come in and take your vows to uphold your office and serve the state on the Hindu scriptures. Or if you're an atheist, you can't even take a vow to God to fulfill your roles, your office. We can say no to that. Early American colonies and states actually did say no. Many of the states, as I talk about in Christian Patriot, said unless you believe in the Trinity, unless you believe in Jesus, unless you profess the Old and New Testaments, you can't even run for office. You can't even hold office, because office holders represent us. As I had my little conflict there with the Buddhist who came on, a Buddhist does not represent me at the state legislature. Neither does an atheist. Representative government is to represent the majority. That's to represent us. All the other religions seem to get that. They're pushing the Hindu and the Muslim and the Jew and all these groups and pushing their people to the top. We're sitting around twiddling our thumbs, going to church on Sunday, wondering why everything's going down. So Christian patriotism, it's based on the idea of father, fatherland, fatherhood, priestly fatherhood, papal fatherhood, Trinitarian, God the Father, and it's the right term. It also removes us from the accusation of nationalism and some of the negative things associated with that. Before I take your comments and questions, I want to briefly talk about Thomas Aquinas and his treatment on this. It's something very important to me. It's something that I've been working on for over 10 years, and that is Thomas Aquinas on the idea of patriotism. Thomas Aquinas has 4 virtues. We talk about this in New St. Thomas Institute. You should join if you want to learn more about it. But it's peanut butter jelly French toast, P, prudence, F, fortitude, peanut butter, P, J, justice, French toast, F, fortitude, T, toast, temperance. Those are the 4 cardinal virtues. And under justice, you can sign up at NSTI. There's a $1 offer below, nsti.com, to learn more. It's where I teach online courses. If you want to learn about all this philosophy and theology, Catholic, Thomas Aquinas, sign up at nsti.com. Under justice, Thomas Aquinas says there's something called piety. And within piety is something called patriotism. And I want to read some of that to you so you can kind of understand what St. Thomas Aquinas is talking about. So I'm quoting here from the Summa Theologiae. By the way, if you sign up for NSTI, you'll get the whole digital Summa Theologiae, and digital Douay Rheims, and digital Vulgate in Latin, and digital Greek, Septuagint, and New Testament. We offer all that with all of our 13 courses at nsti.com. Summa Theologiae This is Secunda Secundae, second of the second part, question 101, article 1. And he says, this is talking about piety. Piety is part of justice. It's rendering what is due to another, but in particular to your superiors, and in this case, your family. And he says, that which is more excellent owed in a higher degree. Now, something greater is owed to parents and to the fatherland, patria, than to blood relatives and fellow citizens, because parents and the patria, parents and the fatherland, are principles of our generation, upbringing, and governance. Hence, Aristotle says in the Ethics that we owe the greatest things to our parents and to our patria, fatherland. So Thomas Aquinas is very clear. And by the way, all of this relates to the 10 Commandments and the commandment, honor your father and honor your mother. It's one of the 10 Commandments, right? So it's virtue-based, justice, piety, but it's also 10 Commandments based. And he says here that we owe more honor, more piety to our parents and our patria, our fatherland, than we do to other blood relatives and even our other fellow citizens. Stop and think about that for a minute. According to Catholic social teaching, you, after your parents, right, when you talk about your superiors, because of your generation, you owe the greatest amount of piety to your parents and to your patria, to your fatherland. Now, a lot of people say to me, well, yeah, but America has had all these sins and they've done all these horrible things, and how can I salute the flag, and how can I love America, or how can I love my Protestant, United Kingdom or whatever, right? If you read Thomas Aquinas, you love your patria, your fatherland, based on its relationship to your generation, to your procreation, right? In a way, you love that people, you love that dirt. That doesn't mean you love its sins. Just as you honor your father and mother and love your father and mother, even if they've done horrible things to you, betrayed you, abandoned you, etc. Now, I know there's a lot deeper wounds too, but I think in general, all of us have maybe something with our parents. And by the way, let me just take a moment here. You need to learn to forgive your parents and move on. All right, that's some great advice right there. I've heard it from other people. No one's parents were perfect. Your parents could only give to you what they had. They came also with a broken set of tools and maybe a broken worldview. So your parents could only give to you what they had. Forgive your parents, move on, right? But still, you have to honor your parents. Doesn't mean you have to obey everything they say. Doesn't mean you have to approve their sins or love their sins, but there is that honor there. And this structure relates back to the nations that we belong to. Our nations have done horrible things, sins, things that were unjust, but we love them in our relationship to the dirt, the soil, the people, the traditions, the good, right? You love and honor the good. Back to Thomas Aquinas. Sorry. I'm trying to keep the Latin version open. Here it is, because then I can see some of the words like patria and emphasize that. Thomas Aquinas says, therefore, since justice is the virtue that renders to another what is due to him, it belongs to piety to render worship and duty not only to those joined to us by blood, but also to those who are connected to us by the patria, the fatherland. As Virgil says in the Aeneid, chapter 6, here is my guest house, whence men are born and endure through the ages. Reply to objection 1. As was said above, justice renders what is due to another according as it is equal to him, but to parents and to the patria, the fatherland, something greater is owed, namely reverence and worship. And here worship is dulia, not latria. Therefore, piety is a special part or potential part of justice, end quote. So you can see here, Nationalism, I think, is a weak term. I think it's problematic. I think we need Christian patriotism. And I'm going to be emphasizing this a lot more moving forward. All right. Again, I've got the canvas out today. I've put some of the paint and the colors on the canvas, right? And I'm showing you this is how things could look. Here are the brushes we want to use. Here are the distinctions that we want to make. Here are the Latin words. Here's Thomas Aquinas. Here's some vocab: justice, piety, pietas, patria, patriotism. All right. And so we're starting to build something here, right? We need to do this. If you went to a public school, you never learned any of this. If you went to a Catholic school, I very much doubt you learned any of this. Even if you went to college and you had a major in politics or political science, I very much doubt that you were exposed to this level and these distinctions of scholastic, Thomistic, Catholic political thought. And we have to get back there. And I'm going to be making this more and more part of my mission and explaining these things and working these things out. So if you like this, please subscribe. This is the second video I've done in this vein, and I'm going to be doing more of them. Of course, if you just want to read everything that I've thought about it over the past 2 years, just go ahead and order my book, Christian Patriot, which you can buy, by the way, at taylormarshall.com /store. You can get the 2 calendars or 1 calendar, and you can pick up a copy of Christian Patriot. If you buy it directly from my website, that always helps me. Or you can go to amazon.com. All of that is legit. I'm going to honor our second sponsor, and then I'm going to go into the live chat, and I want to hear your thoughts. There's over 1,500 people watching, so I'm sure there's a lot of questions, comments, suggestions. I'd love to learn more about what you guys are saying. And today's sponsor is Birch Gold. Now, today when I was on the treadmill, I was like, I wonder what gold's up to. Gold hit 4,000 an ounce, my friends. If you're watching on the screen, you can see gold is on a major run. And it's up for a year, up 55%. So I hope that when I was reading about Birch Gold a year ago, that you got the info kit and you found out about gold and you bought a lot of gold, because you'd be up 55%. Now, I'm not saying you're going to be up 55% next year. I don't want you to be mad at me if that doesn't work out. But I'm just saying, if you've been day one, ride or die with Taylor Marshall, and you listen to the ad reads I'm doing, and you got into Birch, you called up Birch Gold or contacted Birch Gold and learned about it, invested, your life is awesome right now, because your gold ounce is worth over $4,000 and you're up 55%. For those of you that are new to it, Birch Gold is a great way to learn about investing gold. It's no obligation. You can get a free info kit if you just text my name, Taylor, to 989898. So get your phone out, type in the number 9898. Wait, how many is that? 989898. And just all you got to do is text the word Taylor to that number, and they're going to contact you, no obligation, and they're going to give you the 2025 free info kit on gold. Inflation is going to get worse. These are things I've studied. You need to hedge. And so if you reach out to Birch Gold, they can help you, they can teach you, and they can also help you buy some physical gold, or they can talk to you and help you on how you can convert some or all or whatever you want into, if you have a 401k, an IRA, savings, they can help you strategically convert that. So to learn more, just text my name, Taylor, to 989898, and you'll get the free info kit on learning how to invest in gold. You can also click the link in the show notes, and all I got to do is tell y'all, look at that chart. Wouldn't you like for your 401k to be up 55% this year? Let me tell you, interest rates have been totally out of control, and more countries are shifting into gold. Be smart with your savings. Be prudent. Learn more about it. Text Taylor to 989898. Comments, questions, Christian patriotism versus Christian nationalism. What say you? First super chat today is Franco. Joel Webben is incorrect. There will be no Christian unity until Protestantism is vanquished. Communism, which we now all suffer under, is the logical fruit of Protestantism. So Joel Webben invited me onto his podcast. We did an hour or more. I can't remember. I think it was an hour interview. And he was very interested in my take. And I was talking about Christian Patriot because he's coming from a Reformed Calvinistic Baptist worldview. And I think it's a great interview, by the way. I would encourage y'all, after this one's over, go on YouTube and just type in Joel Webben, Taylor Marshall interview. It's on Joel Webben's channel. I think I did a great job representing the Catholic faith. We got into infant baptism. And I think one big issue with the Christian Patriot movement with Protestants is if your worldview incorporates the concept or the conviction that when a baby is born to Christian parents, this is the Baptist point of view, you should not baptize the baby because the baby has to wait until it's old enough to decide on his or herself to be a Christian. If you take that heretical Protestant Baptist belief to its logical extreme, you get all kinds of social chaos. When we have a baby, Joy and I, we don't say, well, should we put Marshall on the birth certificate? After all, maybe the baby doesn't want to be a Marshall. Shouldn't we let the baby grow up and then when the baby's 7 to 10 years old, say, do you want to be a Marshall? You do? Okay, well, let's write Marshall on your birth certificate. Or even more perfidious is the idea that when a child is born, you don't assign the gender, male or female. You wait for the child to turn 15. You send them to a liberal public school. And when they're there hanging out with furries, you say, do you want to be a boy or girl and one of these others on the chart? Oh, okay, that's what you choose. That's what we're going to identify you with. No. Rational people, Christian people, people in the Old Testament, people in the New Testament, assumed and presumed that their babies that were born into their house belong to God. They belong to the household of God, and they should be baptized as soon as possible. A, for the remission of original sin. B, to infuse them with sanctifying grace, justice, faith, hope, and charity. And C, to make them living members of the body of Christ, the Holy Catholic Church. So the whole Baptist idea that we're going to delay in presuming identities for our children is anti-Christian civilization. And this is why Anabaptist movements have never been able to create a Christian civilization, because it's ultimately based on nominalism and it's ultimately based on a voluntary presupposition on what is Christendom. It's just a bunch of volunteers, or are we enrolling our children day one, as soon as they're born, get them baptized? We are training them to be warriors of Jesus Christ, which is part of confirmation. Franco, thanks for the super chat. Again, I'd encourage y'all, go watch my interview that I did with Joel Webben. I think it's really good. I was happy with it. Susie Glaze. Susie, I checked, and we got the calendars are shipping to England. I'd say I probably saw 4 or 5 orders in the last day that are shipping to England. So I know international sales are working all over Europe, all over the world. If you want the calendar, want some, get some. It's available. taylormarshall.com/store, or you can do store.taylormarshall.com. It all works. Click the link in the show notes. You'll get it. Susie Glaze. I went to the traditional Latin Mass on Sunday, had no clue what was going on, but it was beautiful. It's not common where I am in the United Kingdom. Susie. For those about to trad, we salute you. We love that. I think that's great. And yeah, I have been saying for 6 years, it's called my 4 Latin Mass challenge, 4 Sunday Latin Mass. You need to go 4 times before you're like, I'm starting to get it. The first time you go, I just tell people, don't try to follow along. Don't panic. Don't have negative thoughts. Pray. Just be there and observe. Why is that happening? Interesting. I have no idea what that is. Interesting. Oh, we're at the gospel. I can tell because everybody just did this, right? After 4 times, you're going to be acclimated. Are you going to be fluent? No. Are you going to kind of feel like I now understand what's going on? Yes. All right. So Susie, I would encourage you go 3 more times. And I think after your 4th time, you're going to be like, I get this. I got this and I get this. Susie Glaze, yes, I've got the calendar ordered. Let's go. Loving it. Going into your general chat, see what's going on with y'all. It's going down. Militant Wing, solid advice. I was baptized when I was 1 month old. Based, good. Love it. Ifno Murphy, be warriors, not betas. Good night. God bless. Amen to that. 4 times. Okay. Yeah, you guys got to go 4 times. I always say, this might be a crude analogy, but you know when you were like a teenager or like really young and everyone's like, oh, beer is cool. I remember probably I was around 9 or 10 years old when I finally discovered that my father had Budweisers in the refrigerator in the garage. I was like, oh, there's beers in here. I could open one and taste it. No one would know. So I opened one and tasted it. It was nasty. Didn't want it. But then I also realized they're carbonated. So I took a few of them out into the cul-de-sac and shook them up and threw them high in the air. And when they landed, they exploded. And that was great fun, except it sprayed Budweiser all over me. But I didn't know beer had a smell. So I came home for dinner that night and my mom's like, have you been drinking beer? I'm like, no. She's like, you smell like beer. And then I had to confess that I took my dad's Budweisers, shook them up, threw them up in the sky, and watched them explode on the street. Why was I talking about that? Oh, yeah. I was talking about that because when you're a kid, everyone's like, oh, you see beer, or used to see beer commercials, and beer, it's so cool. And then you taste a beer the first time, and you're like, what's the hype all about? This is horrible. Beer sucks. Beer is nasty. I don't like beer. But after you've had beer about 4 times, you're like, beer's kind of good. I'm going to mow the lawn and I'm going to have a beer. I like that. You see? So it takes the 4 times to get the taste of it. Probably a crude analogy, but there it is. Franco, St. Alphonsus Liguori said it was a sin to delay baptism more than 10 days. I believe John Paul II said it was 3 weeks. We have tried to get our babies baptized within the first week. Certainly waiting is traditionally in the Catholic Church, it's a mortal sin. So yeah, you're supposed to get your baby baptized as soon as possible. Again, I think John Paul II, when he was Pope, said 3 weeks is the outer limit. Not 3 months, not 3 years, 3 weeks, 21 days. Get that baby baptized. Alphonsus Liguori, Franco, reminds us 10 days is the limit. So again, this is something urgent. All right. Go, boy. We got a big name here. Greg Zorgs. Just got my calendar a little over an hour ago. Let's go. For the next year, any thoughts on putting the names of the month and the days in Latin? We could do that. Be kind of cool. I'll think about it. You know, we could have May. Yeah, we could do it. We got room here. You know, we could put it right there next to it. By the way, the big extra bonus this year is the Catholic Farmer's Almanac at the back. All right, so let me see here. This is the agrarian medieval Catholic customs as they relate to agriculture and the seasons to the saints' days. So, for example, I'll read you one of these here. Okay, February 2nd, Candlemas, purification of the Blessed Mother. On the feast, this is in the NSTI calendar at the back. On the feast of the purification of Our Lady, Candlemas, February 2nd, candles are blessed in church. The weather on this day allegedly predicts the weather for the coming growing season. Protestants continued this tradition, but secularized it as Groundhog Day. All right, so February 2nd is Groundhog Day. That's Protestants trying to corrupt the medieval Catholic tradition, which was on February 2nd, the Feast of the Purification, Candlemas. Medieval people believed that the weather on Candlemas determined the spring planting. So if it was a wet, cold day on Candlemas, February 2nd, it would be a wet, cold spring for planting. If it was a hot, dry day, it would be a hot, dry spring. All right, that was medieval folklore, which I've captured a lot of those medieval kind of folklore things here. And then Protestants just called it, well, we can't talk about February 2nd, the Feast of the Purification, Candlemas, Virgin Mary, Jesus. So we'll just call it Groundhog Day. Lame. Anyway, it's just cool things like that throughout the whole year. You and your family can learn about them. And I think it's fun. I think it's wholesome. I think it's good. And that's why you should buy like 10 of these and hand them out at Christmas. TaylorMarshall.com/store. I'm glad y'all are getting them. They're going out great. I'm so happy. And this year, we went even better, even thicker. Y'all hear that? Even thicker, high quality metal. I mean, this thing can survive a bomb because it is the bomb. And that's what's up. Ooh, ladybug folklore. I'm glad you brought that up because I had a really awesome priest, traditional priest, and a bunch of my friends, guys. We kind of did a guy retreat, but it was rosaries, Latin mass, and just shooting 2,000 rounds and cooking amazing meat and steaks. And it was an awesome guy retreat. But the first day, when we all arrived, it was swarming with ladybugs. Like you'd look down and there'd be like 5 or 6 ladybugs on either shoulder. Ladybugs everywhere. And it was awesome. And I had a memory. Maybe next year I'll put it in here for the ladybugs. But I had a memory that the ladybugs had something to do with the Virgin Mary, Our Lady. So I looked it up on Grok. And the ladybug, what happened is the farmers in medieval Europe, there would be not the mites, but the aphids. The aphids would come and damage the crops. And so the people would pray, and then the ladybugs would come. They would eat the aphids and preserve the crops. So they were like saviors. And so the people associated the ladybug, which is red, with Our Lady, with her intercession. And so they named the bugs ladybugs. In German, I think it's called a Marienschlaf, something like that. But almost every language, Portuguese, Spanish, English, German, has some reference to the Blessed Virgin Mary for the ladybug, which is actually not technically, I guess it is a bug, but it's mainly a beetle. And the spots on its back signify the sorrows of Our Lady, I read. Not sure if that's true. Looking forward to receiving the calendar. Yes. Maggie Wallace. I'm very concerned about the rise of extreme language coming from online conservative Catholics. How do you balance a warrior spirit with loving your enemy? We must love our enemy. We have to love our enemy, and we must guard our tongue. I hope I do a good job presenting these things without being nasty or mean-spirited or overly pejorative. I know when the Buddhists came on the other day, I really kind of was like, we don't want Buddhists representing us in a representative government. But I wasn't belittling, I don't believe. But I also think a lot of Gen Z men, and I've been talking more about this, and I'm going to talk more about this. A lot of Gen Z men, I know older generations don't fully understand it, but I have Gen Z kids and they have friends. And so I actually spend a lot of time talking to Gen Z people. They watch movies, they watch Wonderful Life or, Hitchcock films, and they kind of see like, wow, that's what San Francisco was like. You know, that's what the Northeast was like. That's what Boston was like. That's what New York was like. And then they look at what they have now, and they look at the economy, and they look at the if they're male, they look at the females. If they're female, they look at the males. They look at the onslaught of pornography and degeneracy and contraception and divorce and abortion. And they're like, how did it all go from wonderful life to totally degenerate, gross pornography, abortion, free love, and all that? And they're just like, Woodstock, late 60s, total sellout. And so a lot of that younger generation just associates the complete sellout with, okay, boomer. And they have nostalgia for living in a wholesome society. And they don't see how it's going to come back. I'm trying today, like I said, with my canvas to paint a way back, but they don't see a way back. And so when you're trapped, you bite. And I think that's what we're seeing. So the beautiful thing is so many young people are turning to Christ, and so many young people are entering the Catholic Church, and they're realizing that the things they've struggled with, whether it's their parents' divorce or abandonment or pornography, sexual vice, abortion, all these things, that Christ forgives all and heals all. And the Catholic Church actually has a message for that. And that's one of my big problems, with like the James Martins and the liberals and the modernists is I don't think they really believe that the gospel of Jesus and the sacraments can radically transform someone who is so wicked, who has given themselves over even to Satan. We just had Blessed Bartolo, last name Longo? Bartolo, what is he? Let me know in the show notes. Canonize a saint. He was a satanic priest who became Catholic, became an apostle of the Rosary, and was canonized a saint. Is it Saint Bartolo Longo? Let me look. Let me know, guys. Chat, help me out. Lifeline. I'm sending a lifeline out to you guys. I think that's his name. By the way, that's why I'm always telling y'all, pray the rosary every day. You're not on the team. Pray your rosary every day. All right. I also want to be known as an apostle of the rosary. All right. I'm counting on that. When I die and I'm judged, I'm just banking on many, many people started praying the rosary, because you are always saying to millions of people every week, pray the rosary every single day. So you must pray the rosary every day. You're not on the team. Don't be lazy. Don't skip it. I'm tired. I'm hungry. I'm driving. Whatever it is, pray the rosary every day. Yeah, it's Longo. Bartolo Longo. Props to my high IQ, highly informed audience. You guys are the best. Super chat just came in. We're kind of coming up on the hour here, but I'll hit that super chat up. Jacqueline Garcia, super chat. My husband and I are first-time parents. It's been good, but my husband says he feels overwhelmed. We're Catholic. He rejects some beliefs. I'm praying, but I'm just sad and hurt when he says these things. Any thoughts or advice? Well, I don't know what he's saying. And as his wife, I would encourage you to keep praying for him. And when he says things and he shares what he's thinking or feelings, I would encourage you as his wife to remain as quiet as possible and to listen to what he's saying and to ponder it and to consider it. Instead of just saying, well, that means what you're really saying is this, or that kind of thing. It's very rare for a man to share his emotions, feelings, and thoughts. The default setting in the man is not to do that. So if he is sharing these with you, I would encourage you to just ponder it and listen and consider it. And then you say he rejects some beliefs. I don't know what those are. That's concerning. And you can have conversations about that, or maybe books or podcasts to help him come around. Because if you're Catholic, you have to believe everything. You have to believe what the church teaches on all the hard things, from homosexuality to contraception to salvation to baptism to everything. So I wish I had more to say, but I think we should pray for Jacqueline and her husband. Let's pray a Hail Mary before we sign out. Nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. Ave Maria, gratia plena Dominus tecum, benedicta tu in mulieribus et benedictus fructus ventris tui, Iesus. Sancta Maria, Mater Dei, ora pro nobis peccatoribus, nunc et at hora mortis nostrae. Amen. Nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. All right, friends, we love you. Pray your rosary every day you're not on the team. Find a traditional Latin Mass. Go 4 times. Take 4 sips. See if you like the taste. And make sure you get your calendars. If you want to sign up and go on pilgrimage and kick off Lent with Joy and me and a bunch of other great Catholics, traditional-minded people, eating amazing Italian food and drinking amazing wine and sitting in Assisi or Rome or Florence, sign up for the pilgrimage. TaylorMarshall.com/Rome. And until next time, remember, our Lord Jesus Christ says you're the light of the world and the salt of the earth. So go out there and be salty. God bless. Godspeed. Ave Maria. Pray the rosary.